Hello, everybody, and welcome to Deanna's Hand. And, oh my gosh, Deanna, we are episode 7
It's
of
crazy.
Reclaiming Your Health. It is entirely crazy. I will introduce myself just in case you're tuning in for the first time. I am Heather Halliday. I'm with Essential Wellness Northwest, and I'm coming to you from Redmond, Washington, just east of Seattle.
So nice to be here with you, Heather. Sorry about my hand. I had a message pop up and went to the wrong side to clear it.
Oops.
I am Deanna Wilcox, and I am a certified health coach with Thriving with Deanna, and I'm in Vermont and so excited to be here tonight.
Yay.
We are really excited about this episode, and we're really excited about all of the information that we've shared with you. I think we might say this every week, but it just makes us feel so grateful to be here. We feel so passionate about this information that we are sharing with you guys. And so we just ask that you like what you're seeing, that you comment. We would love to hear from you.
Please.
Yes. And would love for you to share this information. So if you're finding it helpful, please put it out there to the rest of the world so we can spread these messages that we feel are super important and will likely help people you know.
Absolutely. And so in episode 7, we're going to derail a little bit. We have talked about many things in the last 7 weeks. We've introduced you to what chronic inflammatory response syndrome is and talked about strategies about getting your body tested, about getting your home tested to see if you might have mold in your home, or office space, or common area that you share. We've also started the conversation about toxins and how important it is to actually have clean living, just so that you're not activating or making your SIRS worse. So today we're actually going to have a conversation about mindset. Mindset is a massive piece of being able to overcome any kind of illness, anything from a simple cold to chronic illness like Deanna and I have had. So we are going to go off the cuff. We have absolutely no script, but it's something the two of us believe very heavily in. And I also just wanted to mention, too, that if anything we say resonates with you and you'd like to get in touch with us, please feel free to email us at, go to our websites, which are listed right here, essentialwellnessnw.com for Northwest, that's myself, and thrivingwithdeanna.com is Deanna. And we are happy to share with you any information. And we also each have a little gift for you as well. I have a shopper's guide that will help you navigate the grocery store to get on track with healthy living, which is also a huge piece of any kind of recovery. And Deanna has an amazing healthy snack guide for you as well. So welcome, everybody. Thank you so much for your continued support. And on that note, Deanna, shall we?
Yes, most definitely. I'm excited to get going. And I wanted to just add to something that you said about mindset being such an important part of like any healing journey, any illness that you're experiencing, and food too. And I would venture to say, and I know you're going to agree with this, that both things are incredibly important no matter where you're at in life.
Absolutely.
Both things, I mean, a healthy diet is really, in my mind, critical for everybody. Without our health, what do we have? And so I just think it's super critical to protect your health at all times. And so I think, a healthy diet is the place to start. And really, mindset can have such an impact on any life event that you're going through, or just life in general. So yeah, I think it's such an important topic. And, we couldn't help but interrupt like our regularly scheduled stuff to talk about this tonight and to just like talk from our hearts a little bit more freely.
Right. And I want to add too, so we are talking about health, but this also participates in any part of your life. This has to do with your relationships. Right. This has to do with your job or your work. It has to do with your interactions with people in the world. It has to do with how you think and feel about money, abundance or lack of. So anything that we're sharing, you can literally transform or take out healing or illness and insert whatever actually relates to you and what's going on with your life.
100%. Yeah, that's exactly what I was trying to say before too. And, a lot of the clients that I work with are, we work immensely on mindset stuff because it's such a huge part of anything that they're doing. And, a fair number of the clients that I work with don't have any sort of chronic illness. They may have some symptoms here and there that are bringing them to me to make their life more enjoyable, for one reason or another. But so often a major part of what we're doing is working on mindset because that's one of the critical pieces to getting them to where they want to go. And everybody coming to me has a different story. So
yes. And, just to kind of explain, if you're not exactly sure what mindset is the philosophy that you adopt around any of those subjects we are just talking about. For instance, if you feel, let's just talk about money. Let's take health out of it for a second. If you feel like you will always be struggling, you will always be lacking, you will always be in want, then guess what? That's going to become your reality. If you have the belief that success can happen, that you can have what you need in abundance, then that's what it will happen. It doesn't mean that it happens at a snap of a finger. It actually takes a lot of work on your part. It takes a commitment to continue that belief system, and it takes practice. We don't get anywhere in life, sadly, without practicing.
Absolutely. Yeah. And continuing to be, in that lack mindset. So, one of the things I had as a little note that I wanted to share is what we focus on grows. So if you continue to focus on that lack, that's what will continue to grow in your life. That's what you're attracting to yourself, is this lack. And so if you can start to focus on what you want and create that picture in your mind, you're going to start to see things show up in your life. And, it's amazing for me because so often, when I'm really doing a really good job being in that mindset, Heather, often what I will find is I start seeing things show up in my life in these really small ways that I'm like, that was totally part of where I'm trying to go. And I just see these blessings that make me so grateful. And when we can be in that gratitude mindset, that was another thing I wanted to share, then I feel like it just keeps that flow. And we can't really be very discouraged when we keep seeing these little things that are such blessings, and we're in that gratitude mindset that little things will show up that you recognize. Like I said, you're moving in the right direction. Whereas, previously if you were not in that gratitude mindset, you may just feel really discouraged by not seeing movement towards your bigger goal. But I think when you start to get in that gratitude mindset and you have that abundance mindset, you see those little things along the way that are leading you there. Does that make sense?
Definitely. Oh, totally makes sense. And, it just reminds me of, oh my gosh, I'm totally having a SIRS moment. Oh, it was such a brilliant thought. But if you, oh gosh.
That's okay.
Oh, well, I'm having a moment. But I did want to say too, it is also about your belief system. So, Deanna and I might have SIRS and we have Lyme disease, but it's not who we are. We have it, but it doesn't define us. Yeah. And the moment that we adopt the philosophy that all we are is the SIRS and the Lyme disease, then we're already defeated and the game is already lost. You have to keep the mindset of that gratitude. You have to keep the mindset of, what is it that's showing up for me and what is it that is trying to be told to me? So now I kind of remember my thought process. So I have a bunch of stuff going on with my health right now. And the very first thing I thought, I am human, so maybe the second thing I thought, but the first thing I thought was, oh my gosh, what the heck is happening to me? Is my body falling apart at me? And why is this happening? My second thought, and it wasn't much later after that initial thought, is, okay, my body is the vehicle for a message that needs to be heard. If I am in a place of chaos in my health, if I am in a place of chaos in my life, what is the message that I'm trying to, or need to receive, or need to hear? So the first thing that comes back to me is, with all this crazy health stuff going on, excuse me, I haven't been able to spend much time on myself, self-care, self-love, my spiritual practice and my spiritual beliefs, who I am as a person, how I walk in this world. A lot of those things have been kind of pushed to the side. And so my first inclination or intuition when I start to see all this health stuff kind of unravel is, oh, I need to bring it back to me. This is a red flag. My body's trying to tell me something. I need to be more connected, and I need to make more time for myself, and I need to find ways to decompress and de-stress. So there can be value in things that seem like they have no value.
Yeah, value in those really hard things, right? I mean, I know I've told you this several times in the past several weeks, Heather, that if it hadn't been for SIRS and for Lyme, I would not be anywhere near where I am in any part of my journey. It forced me into incredible growth. And I can look at that now. There was a time where I couldn't, but I can look at that now and be so incredibly grateful for it, and to actually see my illnesses as a gift and not just as a burden. Some of the best advice that I got that I think, really helped me was, and now I'm having a moment. What was it? No, but I have a couple of thoughts on that. I lost one of them, but is that we do not want to call, this is something I had to really change in my language. When I would get brain fog, I would say, my brain fog is so bad today. And sometimes I slip, but I am so conscious now of not calling any of that mine. I have brain fog today. Okay. I'm not claiming ownership of that. Yeah. I'm stating a fact. So if you have an illness or you have something that's afflicting you in your life in any way, really pay attention to how often you are claiming that, calling it yours and claiming it. Yes. I think the other thing is, this was what I was going to say before that I forgot, is we really want to be careful about talking like we are battling what we have or fighting. I think we so often hear people say, like, I beat cancer, or, I'm fighting Lyme disease, or whatever it is. And ultimately what you're communicating to your body is that you're fighting against it. Because, granted, your body is not the Lyme disease, but you have something going on. And I think that terminology of like fighting it or battling it is actually fairly dangerous. And I think to just really, again, start to change that terminology. Our words are so powerful. Our words come from our thoughts, right? So yes. Our thoughts and our words are extremely powerful.
Definitely. And I know for me in this process, even so, just to recap, I was in a horrible car accident, severed several fingers, tore every ligament and tendon in my hand and my wrist, and I was a massage therapist. That was devastating. However, truly one of my first initial thoughts after, ouch, that really hurt, was, what did I do? What kind of message am I putting out there that I need to invite so much drama into my life? And just like you with SIRS and Lyme, it was my car accident that gave me so many powerful aha moments of, I need to shift my mind. I need to shift my perspective. I don't have to live in a place of chaos. I don't need to live in a place of drama. I need to live in that place of gratitude. I always need to look for those silver linings. And I think for some people, they can be a little turned off by my positivity. But I, just like you said, I'm not going to adopt those negative philosophies, because those thought processes absolutely poison you in one way or another. They can also poison the people around you, because if the people around you start adopting the same philosophy as you, you're creating this massive energetic negativity within your home or within your life. No, people all the time tell me, "Oh, I'm so sorry you're going through this." I'm like, yeah, it kind of sucks. I wish I could have gotten the message in another way, but apparently I'm not done learning. I need to start paying attention, and I'm going to start focusing. I have to. So it can be messengers. They can be powerful messengers. It's what you do with the message that is life-changing.
100%. And I think another thing to add on to that idea is to really, and this kind of, I think I initially got this from Jessica Flanagan. She wrote the book, The Loving Diet, and she has since changed some of her beliefs about the diet part of things. And I agree, not to be negative about her work, but usually if I recommend this book to people, I say, like, just ignore the diet part of the stuff. Not that there isn't some actually really great information in there. It just may not be necessary to follow things exactly the way she has written in there. She used to believe very strongly in an autoimmune paleo approach, with perhaps some other stuff thrown in there. And we won't go into that, but she's changed her thinking. And it's sometimes that approach is still very appropriate for some people, but it can be very unnecessarily restrictive as well. So anyway, if you skip the diet part, the loving part of the book is really incredible. Have you read it, Heather?
No, I haven't. I'm all ears. I'm paying attention.
It is really such a great book. It helped me so much. And so one of the things that I think this is where I first kind of heard about this, was coming into cooperation with your illness, and to really stop the againstness. So again, it ties in with what I was saying before, to stop that talking about fighting or battling, and coming into cooperation, like you were saying, and being open to those messages. And we often, when we get sick or something that we feel is challenging or negative comes into our life, we kind of push it away, right? Like we'll like say, I hate it. I don't want this. I want to I want to move away from it. But if we can actually bring it in closer, again, this is something I learned from her. If we can bring it in closer and maybe listen, what if you were listening to somebody whispering to you? What is it trying to tell you?
Yeah.
And so to really, like I said, just stop that againstness, stop the struggling. One thing I learned so immensely, and I still learn this on a regular basis, is to stop struggling against, it's this againstness, but to stop struggling and to just allow. For instance, when brain fog comes on for me, I immediately want it gone. And it's like I'm
Right.
pushing and trying so hard to function through it, that when I just finally take a pause and I'm like, okay, I'm experiencing brain fog. It's here. What do I need to do? How can I make this experience a bit more comfortable? And maybe that means I slow down for the day. Maybe it means I take a rest. Maybe it means I just set my expectations a little bit lower for the moment, or, whatever it may be. It's as soon as I stop struggling against it and trying to function through it like it's not there, it feels so much better. The symptoms have not gone away. They didn't change, but I am so much more relaxed and comfortable. And it just totally changes the way it happens for me. And so, I've come a really long way in my healing, and I experience brain fog much less than I used to, but it does still happen. And each time it does, like I said, I so often go to that place of struggle. But now, and Heather was mentioning this before, is I've trained my mind and I've practiced so that sooner and sooner, all of the time, I'm remembering, oh, wait a minute, struggling against this is not helping me. And so if I just, pause, take a breath, like notice what's going on and decide how I need to adjust, if at all, today, then that's just so much more helpful. And so, that it brings it back to that practice piece too. It's not going to happen right away, but you have to keep practicing.
Definitely. And I also want to say too that in no way, shape, or form are Deanna and I minimizing the experience that you're having. We're not minimizing that you could be in a lot of pain. We're not minimizing that the struggle is real and what you're having to go through on a daily basis is real. It is real. It's what you do with that information and how you are in reaction to it that makes all the difference in the world. We certainly have really crappy days, and probably more often than we would like. But if we are continuing to keep our perspective in a way of gratitude, then that's ultimately what will come back towards us. The other thing that I wanted to say is that we have to think about the emotional component. What is it why are we fighting so desperately against this thing that is trying to send us a message? And almost always there's an emotion behind it. And a lot of times it's fear, right? Like, who wants to get a diagnosis something they know nothing about, and they instantly move into fear? But for me, when I got my diagnosis with SIRS and Lyme, my instinct was to intuitively go back to myself, check in with myself. And the attitude that I pushed forward was, I know that I know that I know that I'll be okay. I know it's going to be challenging, but I also know I will be okay. I will get through this. I will receive the messages. I have to be willing to step out of my way, step out of my fear, and look for those messages. Open my heart and mind to those messages. And so here's a little visualization you might be able to give yourself. Fear is such a real thing, and it's absolutely a paralyzing thing. It certainly can be. And what do we do when we're in that place of fear or anxiety? What can we do when it feels like it's so overwhelming and the only thing we want to do is curl into a ball and go right down the rabbit hole? One of the things that I actually did at the very beginning, I don't need to do it now, but occasionally I do, is if we think about it, fear or sadness or happiness or whatever, it's an emotion. It's a feeling. It's not tangible. We can't pick it up and we can't move it. We're allowing this feeling or emotion to overcome us and encompass us when we can't even touch it. We can touch our arms, our face, our nose, our head, our partners, whatever, but we can't even touch this thing. And we're allowing this thing, this feeling, to absolutely take control over us. Pooey on that. So what I've told people to do, it's just a feeling. You need to find a way to get it through you and have it move through you. If you need to visualize it, if you're in your home, open a window. If you're in a car, roll down the window and just blow it out. Get rid of it. Release it. It's just a feeling, folks. That's it. It's you that are creating this massive amount of energy around something negative when you absolutely have control to bring it back in and make it positive.
You have the power to take that massive energy and turn it into positive energy. We have that ability. And so, if that's not empowering, like, that just makes me, it just thrills me, because it's so true that we have so much that we can do around that. And, when you were talking, if you saw me looking down, it was because I was making some notes, because I could talk about this stuff for so long. And, I know we don't want to keep these guys. Have you heard of her stuff, Heather?
I have. I haven't followed her, but I have definitely heard of her work.
So she has this thing called The Work. And if you go to her site, which I think is just byronkatie.com, you will find like all of the worksheets necessary to work through this. And it's incredible stuff. But one of the things that stands out to me most in her work is that she suggests that you ask, is it true? Right? Because these emotions come on and they feel so powerful. They feel so real. They are real, right? They're real. They're not tangible, but they're real. The emotions you are feeling are very real. And so
Yes.
it's important, though, to stop and ask yourself, is it true? Because so often what we are getting so worked up about and creating all of this energy around is not even something that we know to be true. We're creating something that may or may not happen. And so, you're paying a debt that you may not owe, as the saying goes.
Yes.
So I think that question is super powerful to stop some of that circular thinking from going on, to say, is it true? Is it true? And if you cannot confirm that it is true, why don't you turn it around and make it something that's positive, that might not necessarily be true yet, but that it has the ability to change how you're feeling. I mean, isn't that just so much more powerful? The other thing that I wanted to add was that I think it's really important. There is so much information out there about like being positive, and sure, that's great. And there's like some degree of fake it until you make it. And, that can actually be pretty powerful. But I encourage you not to ever deny yourself the feelings that you're having. It's really important to feel those feelings, recognize those feelings. And like Heather was saying, you then have to decide what you're going to do with those feelings. You can decide in that moment, I'm feeling really anxious, or I'm feeling really frustrated, or lonely, or hopeless, or whatever it is. You can pay attention to those feelings and recognize them. Feel them for a little while. If you need to feel them, you don't have to push them away or immediately change them. Just don't get stuck. Make sure that you use that emotion to learn, and then you move forward. Getting stuck there is what is most dangerous, but it is okay to feel those emotions. Like Heather said, one last thing is that, Heather was saying, like, we're not trying to minimize what you're going through. Heather and I, whenever we communicate, are always like sort of validating one another and supporting one another in whatever we're feeling. So it's okay to validate the way that you're feeling, but validating it to the point that you get stuck there and giving yourself reason to, wallow in those things is where it starts to get dangerous.
Definitely. And it's also like, remember, okay, we all have a story. We are born with a story. We continue to write that story, the pages of the story, on a daily basis. If we were to go back and look at our story, how often does it sound similar? Are we repeating same patterns over and over and over again? Maybe the context of the paragraph is different, or the chapter is different, but it has that same feeling, that same feel to it. We have an opportunity to actually rewrite our story. We have an opportunity to change how we are in reaction to what is or has happened to us. We have the ability to make a difference in our own lives. So if you are seeing patterns, right, take a look at those. What are they trying to say? What is the purpose of these messages that are trying to be delivered? This is the theme of everything that's going on. You can change. You have the ability to change. Yes, you may have been diagnosed with something, or you may be struggling with financial problems or relationship problems or what have you. But ultimately, if you are seeing the same pattern show up in money, that you are in relationship, that you are in your health, you have to stop and take notice of that and make a shift in your perspective in order to rewrite your story. Or you're going to have the same beginning, same middle, and same end, chapter after chapter. Excuse me.
So true. You can get a drink if you need to.
Yeah, too bad my water isn't next to me. Next time I'll remember.
You can go if you need to.
I'll be-
I didn't bring water tonight either. And I was like, I don't have time to grab it. And I was like, I hope that's not a bad decision.
Oops. Yep.
So I couldn't agree with that more. And I think if you are seeing those continued patterns, get searching for what are the limiting beliefs that are holding me in this pattern. What beliefs are, keep coming up in these things that are happening that are holding me back. And one of the things that I do with my clients is I created this exercise called power statements. And I have had my clients just tell me how so incredibly powerful it's been for them, especially when they really run with it and use it the way that I've intended. And, one of the ideas behind these power statements, if anybody is interested in learning about them, reach out to me and, we can talk more about it. But, one of the key things behind these power statements is recognizing that our subconscious does not necessarily operate in words. Like it doesn't understand words. So, a lot of times, I'm going to kind of like break free from some of the stuff that we've talked about, like the way that we've been talking about it, and like just look at food right now, because I think this is a way that everybody can sort of understand it is, if you are trying to eat better and you think of the brownies that you have at home, sitting on your shelf. And so all day you're at work thinking about those brownies, but you're trying to eat better. So you are saying to yourself, I'm not going to have a brownie when I get home. I'm not going to have a brownie when I get home. Your subconscious is creating a picture of the brownie, and it's making it even harder for you, right? Like, and if I say to you, like, do not picture yourself going for a walk on the beach with your family, holding hands, laughing, watching the sunset. Don't picture that. Of course you're picturing it, right? Like that's what you're picturing. That's what your subconscious does, is it operates in these visuals. So if you're telling, don't have the brownie, your mind's picturing the brownie. It's not hearing the don't. It's not putting a red circle with an X over it on the brownie in your mind. Right. So if you, alternatively say, when I get home and have an apple for a snack, for example, just, throwing something out there, you're going to start to picture an apple. So what are you more likely to do when you get home? If you have that vision of an apple, you're picturing yourself getting that apple, that's what you're more likely to do. And so in these power statements, I really am encouraging people to create a vision, right? So of what they want. So that's part of it. And then the other thing that I think is really important is to know is that our subconscious can figure out when it's BS. So I mentioned before, like the fake it until you make it, right? You can do that to some degree, but if you're trying to jump from, oh, no way, I don't believe that, to pretending like you do and like trying to convince yourself, your subconscious is going to recognize that BS, and it's not, your mind is not going to make that leap. It's going, every time you try to tell yourself that, your mind's just going to go BS, right? So be aware of how far you're trying to jump. Okay. So when I talked before about coming into cooperation, right? You don't have to today go from a place of hating your illness to loving your illness. I did not go from a place of, hating having Lyme disease or, mold susceptibility to loving it. And in fact, I'm not sure I'm all the way to loving it now, but I am able to be on neutral ground with it. I am able to be grateful for the lessons that it's taught me. But I definitely did not go from hating what I was going through to that place overnight. I started taking gradual steps in that direction in a way that my subconscious was not calling BS.
Yeah, it's so incredible. I love that exercise, by the way. It's a philosophy I follow, but I've never broken it down into an exercise practice. So I am so going to use that with my clients. And you can, gosh, there's so many different ways to use it. One of the things I want to say, and then we should probably close up soon, but we wanted to share some resources or actionable items and things you can do. Certainly what Deanna just shared is a great place to start. If you want to have fun and understand the power of what your thoughts or beliefs can happen, I heard this from Dr. Joe Dispenza. He's another great resource for just mindfulness and ways you think. I did one of his seminars and he said, okay, here's what I want you to do. I want you to start visualizing when you're on your way to a place like Costco or wherever, the mall. I want you to envision where your parking spot's going to be. And if you keep that vision in your mind of where you're going to park, that parking spot will be there. And I'll tell you what, it works for me 95% of the time. People always want to ride with me because I have amazing parking karma. No, I have the thought and energy that I'm putting out there. I'm visualizing what I want to have happen in my life, and it shows up. The same thing happened with my daughter. I was told that I wouldn't be able to conceive, that I was too old, I should get egg donorship, blah, 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 blah. I told the doctors, first of all, don't feed any of that negativity to me because I ain't buying it.
Yes.
No. And if I would have listened to them and bought into the philosophy that they shared with me, I wouldn't be 49 years old with a 4-year-old. But guess what? I'm 49 with a 4-year-old, and she's perfectly perfect. It was the mindset I had going into the process. So there's some great resources. There's Joe Dispenza. He's a great one. Louise Hay, The Positive Power of Thinking and What It Can Do for You. There's movies out there, an old one, but it's fantastic. It's kind of what initially brought me to this whole idea of thinking is what the bleep do we know? There's also The Secret. You don't know that one?
No.
Oh, it's a good one. Dr. Joe Dispenza is actually in it, which is how I kind of originally heard about him. But it's a great one. It really is about mindset, and it also tells you a lot about the power of our thought processes and what it does to our bodies physically. And Dr. Joe actually shares his story of a horrific bike accident and how he should have never walked again and what he did to heal his body while he was technically paralyzed. So there's a lot of great things out there. You can even Google like mindfulness. You're just looking for anybody that teaches any kind of mindfulness, and you'll find somebody that resonates with you. And like Deanna said, you don't have to go all in, but take one step. And I think the fun one is literally visualizing that parking spot. Who doesn't want a great parking spot when you go to Costco, right?
Absolutely. Yeah.
Yeah.
I just have two thoughts that I want to share in closing, and then I'll offer up some quick resources. I would really encourage you, one of the limiting beliefs that I found for myself that really surprised me. This was after years of being sick already. And I have firmly believed that I have been strong and that I would get through this. But I'm not sure that I really actually believed that I deserved it or was worthy of it. And I would hear that come up and I would just sort of be like, why do I deserve it? You know, like I knew I was working hard, and I had people say that to me, and it always kind of like, you know, it made me uncomfortable. That's, I guess, the feeling that I got. It wasn't that I don't know. I can't really explain it, but I had this like pushback from that, and I had to work really hard at getting to a place of believing that I was worthy of healing. And I think our worthiness is something that many of us actually struggle with in so many areas of our lives, whether it's relationships, employment, you know, health, anything. And so I would encourage you to examine how you quote, I don't even know who said it or if anybody said it in particular, but is to understand that life, or to believe that life is happening for you and not to you. So that I think that puts in your hands so much more empowerment and control to understand that you do have an ability to influence what's happening, and that, you can help to make life happen for you and not just to you. So
Absolutely.
Yeah, a couple of resources. I already shared with you Byron Katie and The Work, The Loving Diet by Jessica Flanagan, Think and Grow Rich. And I believe that was Pam Grout. That was a book that I absolutely loved, like a book I will definitely go back and read again. I read it a couple of years ago, but I just loved that entire, I can put it down. The Quote of the Day show with Sean Croxton. I don't know. Have you listened to that at all, Heather?
Yeah.
I love podcasts. So, and I had previously listened to Sean Croxton's health related podcast. And so he stepped away from that after doing it for a really long time. He also hosted some incredible summits. So that was the way that I had found him. And then he started hosting this show, and they're like 10-minute shows. And I think they are an incredible way to start the day. They are filled with just like clips of inspirational or motivational talks. And just tune in, because I don't ever listen to that show and leave uninspired. And
awesome.
I think it's an incredible way to start your day. I haven't been able to do it lately, but I used to start my day with that, and it would just give such a great start to the day, and a habit I need to get back into. The only other thing I wanted to put out there, I didn't mention, like, I think Heather had mentioned this at some point too, but, meditation or mindfulness, some sort of, breathing exercises are an incredible place to help to get yourself centered too. I love to recommend box breathing to people who are just starting out. And if you're not sure what box breathing is, let me know, because I do have a post on my website, but it is locked. But you can look it up too. I mean, you can find it on Google, but I had a post about it that I had locked for my subscribers. And so I can actually, if you sign up for the snack guide, you'll get the password to unlock that as well. And so anyway, again, you can just Google it. It's really simple, but I feel like somebody with the anxious mind who kind of has this fear of sitting and breathing and in meditation, it can be a really great place to start, because it gives you a little bit of something to focus on. And then the last thing I want to say is something that I think has also really helped me in my journey with, my mindset, has been just getting to know myself better, which is so much just about tuning in. But even taking like Gretchen Rubin, who is an author and speaker on the topics of happiness, human nature, and habits, she has written a book called The Four Tendencies. And it first came up in her Better Than Before. I think that was the name of it. It first came up in that book that she wrote. She's a New York Times bestselling author. She's written several really, really popular books, New York Times bestselling books. And so her Four Tendencies like that, I think, can be really helpful for like understanding how your mind is working for you. So
definitely. And the other thing too is, if you're a physical person, yoga, great way to start. Look for Qigong or Tai Chi classes, anything that's kind of moving energy or moving your body and getting you tuned into your body. There's lots of places that offer meditation classes if it's something that you're interested in, but don't quite know what to do or how to start. So there's a million resources. And again, I think just by Googling mindset, you'll probably get a bunch of stuff to come up to give you some ideas, some thoughts, some suggestions of things that you can do to start your journey in the healing process.
Absolutely. Yeah. I'm laughing because my husband just walked in the door behind me. I'm like, that must have looked creepy. Some guy is walking in.
A creeper.
Oh, goodness.
No. Well, sometimes life happens even when you're doing Facebook Lives.
It does.
Definitely.
I definitely agree with that, Heather. And I think there was something I was thinking of that I wanted to say. YouTube can be a great place to just Google like meditation too. You'll find some really kind of odd ones on there, and then you'll find some, the great thing is you get to find what resonates with you. And that's what I love about YouTube. There's so many options. So
absolutely. Well, everybody, thank you so much for joining us. It's definitely been an experience for us. And like we mentioned in our previous podcast or Facebook Live, that Deanna and I really don't know each other. We're getting to know each other through this process. And I always felt connected to her from the very beginning, but gosh, we share so much of the same philosophy. And this is something we've literally never even discussed or talked about with each other. We just knew it was so important in the healing process. All we said is mindset. And we both went, yes, we have got to talk about this, and let's just see how it unfolds. And hopefully we've brought you some very valuable information, different ways of thinking, opportunities to change your perspective and open your mind and your heart to what healing really looks like. And thank you so much for joining us for episode 7. I am Heather Halliday with Essential Wellness Northwest, coming to you live from Redmond, Washington, where true healing is happening as we speak.
I love that, Heather. And I agree. I mean, you know, we didn't, I knew, like you said, like I knew that I knew, right? I knew that we would be really compatible on this topic. So I didn't feel like we needed to prepare for it, really. So, you know, everything we just said here has come from our journeys over the years and really came straight from our heart as really, really powerful things in our lives, not just, you know, in our health journeys, but in so many other areas. And so we hope that it was helpful. We also hope that you will join us back here next week, as we will very likely resume our discussion about toxins in personal care products. I am super excited to come back and talk more about that. I am Deanna Wilcox of Thriving with Deanna, coming to you from Vermont, where I just really want you to be able to experience the impact that mindset can have in your life.
Absolutely. Thank you, everybody. Thank you. We'll see you next week. Take care. Good night.